Hello.
Hey, Fatih, how are you?
Hi, Jack. Good. Winter is coming.
Winter is coming. It is.
It's getting very dark in Sweden. It's November, you know.
Is it like basically you have sun between what, 8:30 in the morning and 3:30 in the afternoon?
No, it's like sun between 11 to 12 or something.
Oh no, it's worse than I thought. Okay, well, remind me not to move to Sweden.
Yeah, summer is good. Like we have 23 hours of sun, but in winter you have 23 hours of, darkness.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, Jason.
Hello, sorry for being a bit late.
Hey, Oleg.
Hi.
No McDonald's today, Oleg?
No, but yeah, it's better than McDonald's, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm still moving somewhere in between, but should be okay for the meeting. Yeah. So should we begin, or are we waiting for others?
I think most of us are here.
Okay. Yeah, then I'll share my screen. I think I need to close this one. Okay. So ready to go. So today is October 26th. So we have a few topics. If you see something missing, please just add it to the list. So just quick news from me. Yeah, you may have seen that I left CloudBees. So it's just for your information, nothing really changes in terms of CDF Technical Oversight Committee, because I will be still present, basically in the same role. My next employer will also back it with working time, and yeah, there will be no change in terms of, well, my next company is not represented in CDF TOC at the moment, so it should be fine. So it's just very quick update. Stay tuned for announcements on November 1st.
So you're bringing in your new employer as a member, right? No, I'm kidding.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Well, you better start working on it then.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. But yeah, it's going to be fun. Yes. So any other news anyone would like to share? Okay, so yeah, then CD events and boarding status. Do we have Andre? Yeah, we have Andre on the call. Andre would like to take it.
Yeah, sure. Well, we are working on the logo for the CD events. So we submitted the creative brief, and we already got back an initial selection of logos, which is great. So we are working, we are iterating towards that. And what else? We set up as you were showing, we set up the GitHub organization and started creating some initial repos. But that's about it.
Yeah, and for the logo, the task is in the CD Foundation GitHub, the CD Foundation, right?
Yes, can get the link.
Yeah, I'm already there. Artwork for CD events, 348.
Yeah.
So what we've got there is that, yeah, currently Linux Foundation leans towards this design. There are also some other proposals. So if anyone has any feedback, it would be more than welcome in this ticket.
Yes,
Okay.
right.
So apart from artwork and administration, is there anything blocking you?
I'm going to be starting the working on the proposal document. And I'll do that as at the same time with creating a template for the proposal, because that's on my to-do list as well. So those are going to be the two things I'm going to start working on.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And yes, speaking of the onboarding flow, it's not in the agenda, but yeah, there is a pull request from Tracy about a checklist for projects after the onboarding. So basically a list of actions, which is expected to happen shortly after the project is accepted to the CDF. It would be great if TOC members take a look at the list and maybe add the notes if they see something missing or additional improvements. Okay, do we want to discuss this pull request? We had a discussion 2 weeks ago, I mean, in general, and I think that now more feedback would be needed.
No, nothing's changed since then. I think I accepted some of your suggestions. The only question is whether you want to get a first version merged, and I can do each one separately. Some of the things will take longer than others, but there's a bunch of other bits we can add in.
Yeah. Well, regarding my comments, I'm perfectly fine if this checklist gets merged, maybe with a disclaimer on the top that it's work in progress. Yeah, after that, we can create GitHub issues for the remaining items. Because, yeah, I understand that, for example, patent transfer topic, it might be a few years for Linux Foundation Legal to make a call on that.
Yeah, I think putting things in issues, and I think there's also some other stuff from Shipwright that's highlighted we should cover in this, but I think it's good just to get the first version down.
Yeah. By the way, yeah, in this repository we have merge permission. We agreed to
Though I will say it will always be a work in progress. So.
Yeah. If you want, we can just exclude this step.
Yeah, well, I think we should just treat it as a live document as other things come up. LFX platforms, we just keep adding to it, but definitely issues to track the things you highlighted.
Is everyone fine with that?
Yep.
Okay, then I will take an action item to recreate issues.
And I've got a few to track as well. Great.
Okay, so I'll just merge it then.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks all. Now, where we are. Okay. Okay, so anything else to discuss regarding project onboarding? Then I guess moving on. So CDF TOC roadmap, I made a few changes since the last meetings, and thanks a lot to Kara for suggesting the topics related to the land. I'm getting from somebody. Yeah, so question, do we want to formally accept it, remove POC status, or do we want to wait a bit more?
I think we can remove the POC status.
Yeah, agree.
Sounds good.
Anyone against? Okay, then I will just remove the POC status and submit a follow-up pull request to reference it. Well, it has been done already. So yeah, so basically we can consider it as roadmap, but it's also a living document. So anytime we see something missing, we can just update. And I believe that all TOC members have access to this dashboard, so you can modify it. Yeah, I believe we miss a lot of items. So let's see. Yeah, for example, this one, this is now in progress. And I guess, Andre, you're leading it, right?
You can put me and Andre on it.
Yeah, sounds good.
Right, we can have multiple assignees in GitHub issues. I forgot about that. Wow. Cool. So, okay, then what's next? IP policy for new projects. I basically put it from the backlog because there is open question whether we expected to comply with IP policy. It was opened long ago. And yeah, maybe it's a question to Tracy and the Linux Foundation is whether we want to align or not.
With CNCF ones?
Yes.
Yeah, assign this to me. Oh, I will. Yeah, I recall this one flying around in the backlog. I can take it.
I don't think, go back, it doesn't look like it was signed correctly.
Why?
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's old issue. So basically, there are a few particularly concerning topics, for example, Apache license, etc. Well, it might be reasonable for new projects, but for example, Jenkins uses MIT. So if we needed to change the license, it's definitely a very long discussion we need to have. And yes, same for example, yes, CDF CLE is an open topic, etc., etc. So let's see where it goes. Okay. Anything else on IP policy? Okay. So I have a brief question. Yeah, I know that I was supposed to start a mailing list discussion first. I didn't. So basically the question is about projects which are currently not represented in the technical oversight committee. So for example, Jenkins X, Spinnaker, and who else? Screwdriver is not represented right now too, right? No.
Screwdriver is, yes.
Oh, okay. So yeah, basically we have two projects, plus there might be projects outside of the Continuous Delivery Foundation that would like to have some representation, especially since there will be a lot of collaboration between projects, for example, open telemetry, CD events and cloud events, etc., etc. So basically the idea was to introduce a kind of role, basically a representative, it's more or less nominal role. And this role would be a point of contact for the CDF TOC, so that we could reach out to this point of contact to discuss various project-related matters, and vice versa. They can represent their projects in the CDF and in the TOC. It would basically just for communication purposes. And actually, we have a foundation for that. For example, in contributors, I believe. So we briefly discussed it with Trace. No, not here. So it's. Oops. I'm not 100%. So somewhere we have a list of TOC contributors who are not actually TOC members. I can find the page later. But yeah, I think that it would be nice to have something more or less formal. So firstly, it could highlight these representatives that we can also easily find whom to contact if there are discussions related to projects we are working on. So do you think it would be useful?
So if I can add as well, like Oleg alludes to, it was an initial discussion, and particularly as we set up things looking a lot to how CNCF set them up. This is also a borrowed idea from CNCF, and you'll see if you go to the CNCF TOC page, they explicitly list out the TOC contributors on the website. And I think it's been a very effective kind of pool of contributors, as well as a pipeline of potential future TOC members. So I think a couple of things they do, they encourage like the members to have a TOC contributor to stay involved with what the TOC is doing. I think there might be some restrictions on kind of one TOC contributor per company, just to make sure there's a mix of different perspectives. Just how they've done it, all I would say is set out some guidelines and tell people what you expect of them, including that they should be involved in discussions and attend the meetings. And we're more than happy to highlight them on the TOC page and in the GitHub things, and just give them that recognition for their contributions.
Yeah, and terminology-wise, you would prefer to keep TOC contributors so that it's aligned with CNCF, right?
Yes, it's. I believe so, although they frequently change things, so it's not a big deal if you really want to call it liaisons.
I would rather keep CNCF terminology where possible.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Yeah, so if you have a link, it would be nice. And I'm pretty sure that we have it listed somewhere. Yeah, TOC contributor. So we even have it documented actually.
There we go.
We would encourage you to pull request to TOC contributors, which is where. Oh yeah, TOC contributors. So basically, it was the document I was showing. I just missed this text. So yeah, we have this list. Probably we need to do some update.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether Raman and Sundeep are active in the community at the moment, but he is a member of TOC. So yeah, we can do some cleanup. But yeah, actually our framework is there.
Yeah. And you can submit a bug to us, like once you've got that list cleaned up, we can get them added to the TOC page on the website.
Okay, so basically we already have it documented. So I think that we can just say that it's TOC contributors and we'll basically keep it running. Any concerns about that?
The only thing I would say is it would, like we're on the Ortelia side, we're just in the process of creating our governance board. And it would have been nice if we would have known that we would have needed another position as the TOC contributor if we weren't, if I wasn't there to represent the Ortelia's project. So that would be the only thing in the onboarding process that we may want to put in there, some information about the new projects coming on board, that they should have a TOC contributor position. Because that way we get the information and who our contact is right up front.
Okay. I totally agree with that, and yeah, I can follow up on that as well as do the page cleanup if everyone is fine with that.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So moving on, unless there are other comments and questions. Mhm. Oh, sorry for typos.
I fixed
Okay.
it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so yeah, follow up to the previous discussion about the GitHub admin requirements. I mean, Tracy mentioned that there is expectation that the Linux Foundation account would be added as admin to project organizations on GitHub. So I just wanted to know whether there is any documentation for that. We had a brief.
I don't have an update, so I'll try and track down somebody who's where the request has come from and someone who can maybe point to something or come and speak to it. But yeah, no advance on last time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I discussed the Jenkins governance meeting. People were not particularly happy about this proposal. So yeah, it's something to be discussed. Plus, the scope needs to be understood because we have GitHub organizations, but we also have, for example, Docker Hub organization and zillions other accounts, mailing lists, etc., which are not controlled by the Linux Foundation. And assuming that something really bad happens in the project and everyone loses access, Linux Foundation won't be able to take it over. So if it's a matter of project sustainability and failover, then it needs to go beyond GitHub accounts.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not sure. I'll have to find. I know with Eclipse Foundation, typically the foundation always held keys to the castle, as they called it. But yeah, I'll have to track down.
Yeah. So
what's happening with ELF.
Yeah, for us in Jenkins, it's somewhat problematic because we have sensitive information. For example, private repositories for security fixes, security advisories, including pending fixes under testing, sometimes for high severity issues. So if we grant an arbitrary number of people access to this information, it definitely needs to be considered carefully. And I guess it's pretty much the same for all projects that have security process.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so yeah. Okay, anything else on this topic? Okay, so the last one we have in the agenda, transfer Jenkins X infra to the Continuous Delivery Foundation. Who did put this topic?
Hello.
Oh, nice to meet you again.
How are you all doing? Yes, surprisingly, it's me. Yeah, so just a bit of context. So I've since also left CloudBees. CloudBees were paying for the build infrastructure. Before I left, made sure that the running costs were reduced to zero for Jenkins X, i.e., we can take down all of the build infrastructure and it won't be affected with Jenkins X. So all images are hosted on GitHub. That's free because they're public images. All Helm charts are hosted publicly for free. But the run it to actually pay for the infrastructure for producing releases, I'm now currently paying for that. So the hope was that maybe that could be incorporated somewhat. I think the running costs are about $300 to $400 a month at the moment. Although I still think there's some optimizations around that can be made. And so I just wondered what the process might be to start maybe that ball rolling, if it's possible, at those kind of things. So I don't know if that's a suitable conversation to have here.
Yeah, we have been trying to just do an audit of all the infrastructure side. That's been a bit slow, and just tracking down folks who are involved with running it. So it has been a bit ongoing, and I know there's a few requests that we haven't been able to get back to. Yeah, I might have to follow up with you just to get some details so we can put that in with the requests. And yeah, just understand cloud and who's gonna. I think basically the board wants to help everybody, but just set up a framework for oversight.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
What infrastructure are you currently running on?
GCP, so Google Container Engine. Well, there's actually 2 GCP projects, one for just a bit of isolation, one to host the infrastructure, and the other one is for testing. So there's some automation that spins up a cluster, runs some tests, and then takes it down. So there's one cluster running in the infra. I think that could be optimized again. I looked at some optimizations earlier, and it said that there's some CPU that we reduced, but yeah.
And yeah, I think I was interested in some of the things you did to save money. We want to apply those to the Spinnaker project, where if they can move the downloads to GitHub, that's a lot of our current costs saved, and then we can move those over to other projects. Which
just for a bit of context there as well. So me and Chase were chatting before. The costs were around about $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month. And the main part of that was because we were hosting our images on Google Container Registry. And the main cost around that was egress. So when users are putting down those images, we were being charged. And so by shifting over to GitHub, then it's effectively free on that for the hosting. So it's a massive saving.
Yeah, for the Artilius project and for Deploy Hub, we use Quay. If it's a public image, it's free. So that's another one to look at, and they're pretty stable. I like that registry.
Yeah.
I will say, I think we should use this as an opportunity to document these best practices to lower your CI costs. I think that would be a great, blog post, talk, something because we are experts. These are best practices. This is a way to make it cheaper. I do want to point out that there is no guarantee that GHCR will remain free. Like Docker Hub was free and now it's not, and GCR was cheap and now it isn't. So I would say the best practice we should document is make it easy to move your image somewhere else. Less to that, move to GCR, it's free, because then 2 years from now there's another fire drill to move everything off of GHCR to somewhere else. But aside from all of that, I definitely think we should CDF should foot the bill on this and not make you personally pay for it, James. So if there's I think we're all in agreement that you shouldn't pay for this personally. And
be awesome.
I'm not sure what the tactical process is for moving that to something that CDF pays for, but
there are basically 2 options. Firstly, paying a CDF. Another one is shaking some trees and finding a sponsor. I'm not sure whether it's possible for Jenkins X in the current state, but yeah, it might be also an option to explore.
Yeah,
it's an opportunity as well, potentially for someone to take that sponsorship. I mean,
yeah, and there's a couple of ways, and Oleg, let me follow up with you because the board recently approved a general bucket of funds for projects, and I think that's something. If I'll let you know what that is, the TOC just needs to put some guidelines around how projects can request those funds. So there's a short-term solution as well. You could just reimburse James through that, but it just needs some guidelines around making it open and transparent for different projects to be able to put in requests and account for how they use the funds.
Do you expect TOC to define this process, or should it go through the board?
No, so the board has already approved a bucket, and yeah, I think it would be good if the TOC could just outline some guidelines and just say this is how we plan to manage that bucket.
Oh, looks like we have another roadmap item. Okay. No, it's quite important. We actually have reducing infrastructure costs or whatever on the roadmap already. And yeah, for projects, it's definitely important and mitigate project infrastructure costs. So, yeah.
James,
okay.
Rolling, are you still on the CDF Slack?
I am, yes.
Okay, great.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, so Tracy, if you could add some information about what was discussed to this ticket, it would be awesome.
Yeah, and just to be clear, that bucket is not necessarily for infrastructure costs; it's for anything. Like I know a while back, Tecton wanted to create some awards for the community, so it's kind of a discretionary fund. So the TOC just has to decide what are legit activities and what are not, or provide some guidelines to projects.
Yeah, so basically it's well, a budget controlled by TOC for whatever project needs.
Exactly, and just to like help the projects grow without needing all the decisions to always run back up to the board.
Yep. And what is the approximate size of this budget?
I think there was an initial one of 10K, but we haven't finalized that for next year, but treat it as a 10K one for now.
Okay.
Oh, like, could you put in the project board just a card for tracking the request from James so it doesn't get lost?
Okay, I agree with you. No, but to create a ticket.
As I'd hate for us to just lose this down the road.
Thank you.
Okay. Believe that we had a ticket for infrastructure or operations. Okay, we'll update it later, but yeah, we have one placeholder. Sorry, I'm on touchpad. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks.
Thanks, Photo. Okay. Okay. Anything else to discuss on this topic or any other topics?
I was hoping maybe Cara would show some of the landscape work she's been doing and some thoughts of how that's evolving.
Yes, I'm very happy to. Let me pull up what I have there.
Yeah, you can screen share.
Yeah, I just need to pull it up actually.
Your advanced security features stopping you
Yeah,
from
it's
sharing.
blocking me, and I thought I had fixed that this morning. So I cannot screen share it.
Do you want me to share?
Yeah, if you want to.
Okay, a sec.
So we've cleaned up the landscape quite a bit, but there's still more to be done. We've added a number of projects and just checked the data on some of the projects. And the goal of this is to make the landscape a little more thorough, a little more encompassing. But now what we would like to do is we'd like to re-examine the categories that are on the landscape. We feel that they either could be further refined or edited in some way that fits how the CI/CD ecosystem has evolved and also how we're considering it. And so this process of categorization, of recategorization, is actually ongoing right now. So you can open an issue on the repo for the landscape saying a category that you think, anything you want changed with the categories, one to add, one to rename, one to take out. All of that is fair game. If you would like to add a project to the landscape, you may do so by PR. You can just you don't have to raise an issue for that, just directly raise the PR and in the category you think it should be in. But the ongoing category discussion, I think, is quite interesting because it really will relate to how the CDF sees the ecosystem and how we're presenting it to the wider community. So we definitely want to get it right, and we definitely want a lot of projects represented. Currently, we are, as with the CNCF landscape, enabling one card on the landscape per project or company, but that too may evolve. That too is up for discussion, but that will color a little bit how we think about the categories. But feel free to weigh in on that. And for refining the categories, this is sort of an open call for adding suggestions to the issues on the repo. And then next month, we're going to do a working group, maybe a few, but hopefully not. hopefully we'll be like super, in all of the same mind and have a very good sense of how this should evolve. And it will only be 1 or 2 meetings. So I'll be sending around a doodle poll for setting up the best time, and anyone who would like to be involved will be announcing it more details. And by all means, you all are invited to be involved. I would like all of your input. So look forward to that next month.
Yeah, and if I can just add some things as well. So I was super thrilled to have Cara coming in and just refreshing it. And she's done a lot of work on the guidelines as well to just make sure it's clean and up to date and just getting a refresh. CDF is seeing the landscape as a strategic asset, and we want to grow it and evolve it. And with that in mind, we also want to solicit input from different parts of the community, including end users, and help drive how that evolution comes along. So that being said, this group that Cara will spin out as a working group, we expect that will be landscape contributors and folks involved in the discussion. And I guess I want to be explicit that we're not seeing the landscape as a direct thing that the TOC looks after and maintains, but it's more folks from the TOC or the end user council or anywhere can evolve to be contributors. But for now, CDF staff will be doing that along with folks who have traditionally contributed. So I would say, Steve Taylor, Tracy Reagan, Tara Hernandez, and Marky Jackson. But we'll try to set up a path for people to review and contribute and grow as contributors, if that makes sense. And a key thing we want to work on as well, I don't know if folks have seen the recent CNCF landscape, and I'm pretty keen to get this in, is they've provided a new guide element, and it also links to each category. And I think that's key that we document the landscape, and particularly for new folks to the community, they understand what each of the categories represent and why they matter. So a guide is something we'll be trying to prioritize as well ahead of adding new categories. So when we do new categories, they're setting out in context relative to the existing guide.
I do consider introducing tabs like CNCF landscape. So for CNCF, for example, there is serverless members, so they started breaking down the landscape at least a bit. So do you plan to do similar thing in
so we do have members already, and for the other landscapes, for instance, our board chair Steve Chin started off a conversation with CNCF about should we consider the CDF landscape as something that could replace the CI/CD box on the CNCF landscape. The early stages of that, we just did a reciprocation. So they put our landscape on their one and we put their landscape, but we're trying to, so it's a bit lost there, but we're trying to find a path towards closer collaboration with not just CNCF, but potentially other foundations, because there's a whole world of them. But for now, there's been no talk of serverless. I know CNCF have that little serverless one. But yeah, open to ideas and suggestions for those.
Yeah.
Is there a template for the guides from the CNCF side?
Yes, I can link the issue where they put it in, but basically you put in a guide.md and then some magic other things. And we already have a lot of the guide written up in that original document. Tracy Reagan first wrote, and then Kosuke and Tara added to. So we'll be going back to that and yeah, putting it into the guide.md format.
Okay.
But yeah, Steve, if you're interested, I can point you at just the issues with the NCF have done it, and Kara for the let's spin up that working group so we can deep dive into those things.
Yep.
In terms of the guide write-up that we have so far by Tracy Reagan, which is great, but the categories don't exactly map to the ones we have from what I could see. So that might need a little refining.
Yeah.
Basically, it might need a little work on the wording, and then we can certainly put the guide up. Steve, if you want to be involved in that, I would love that. And for
Yes.
anyone else, actually, do you all think that we can make it quite public? We could make, we could put it up as a doc on the repo or an issue or a discussion board and discuss it really openly, and people could add what they think or make PRs to that. Is that a good way to go about it, or we can work a little more?
I think, yeah, to set up if we do that working group, let's get folks in the room and
Okay.
Take a look at
So
what
not putting it totally public, just because it might be easier to communicate as a smaller group for the initial write-up of the guide.
Exactly.
Oh,
So I would
yeah.
start with the working group.
Okay.
And then once we get the working group, get the bigger stuff out of there, and then we can get it out to the public to refine it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I think it'll just go quicker.
Yeah.
And I think, like, even though the categories might not, I think there's a good amount there, and there's also complementary work that's happened in the best practices group, a lot kind of tying in the why. So if we just pull those together, I think we should have a good first version to put a stake in the ground, and then just let people come in and we can just open up discussions or PRs.
Great.
Yeah. So Kara, keep myself and Tracy Reagan on your list to help you out.
Great. Thank you, Steve. I'll forward you the write-up by Tracy that we have so far. You probably have it, but just to make it easy to hand for you.
Sounds good.
Okay. So I guess that's it for today. Or would we like to discuss anything else? I have no other topics.
I'm good.
Okay, then thanks everyone. And next meeting is in 2 weeks as always. So I guess no special events planned for mid-November. So I think that we can just keep it as is.
Oh, are we going to run into any time zone issues for 2 weeks? I don't think we are.
Yes, we will.
Yes, you are.
Just want to make sure last minute, because I know we just talked about this on the CD events yesterday.
Yeah, so the meeting is officially scheduled in which time zone? In UTC, right? Or not?
I don't know. Actually,
Okay.
it's probably scheduled from some North American time zone.
This meeting,
Yeah.
it's GTM 7 Pacific.
Okay.
But so North America changes what, on the 31st, and
I think we're
Europe
the first.
on the 1st, and Europe on the 7th. So we should be fine by then.
Yep, at least my calendar says that we are fine. So there is no time zone jump.
Yeah, there is just 1 week of gap, so we should be realigned by the time we have the next meeting.
Okay, that's what I thought. Just wanted to just double check.
Yeah, well worth it.
Okay. So yeah, thanks all.
All right, thank you, everybody.